working on the copper, and I'm really pleased with how it's turning out so far. I have 3 of the bars mounted and I have 3 to go. I thought I'd walk you through the process so you can see what I'm doing with each one to give it that floating effect and how I'm getting them mounted to the board. So the way it starts is pretty simple. You have the estates in place on their respective hangers, and then you take the bar you're going to work on, and I've got them pre-bent. I did all that prior to this. And you try and pick the bend where you want it so it looks like it's coming out of one estate and then flowing into another. And then you leave it there, and then you lift these states off of their hangers, set them aside for the moment. So there goes Missouri and Washington. And that would have been 2011, November 2011, we moved from Washington State to Missouri. Okay, so now the copper bar is where I want it to be, and I have to mark it. Now I know I've got backing boards underneath on the bottom down here, which are really helpful for when I come through and I have to put a washer and the machine nut on the bolt that goes through there. Now it turns out sometimes they extend too far, so I've got to cut them off. So I've already marked this one. Take the Sharpie, it's pretty easy. And you eyeball, I'm just doing this is artistic part of the project here. I kind of eyeball the center of the bar. There's where I want a screw to be, a mount, and then one here. And I got to take into number of things into account. One of them, you can't interfere with this capture pin and the little bracket that's on the back of the board. So I cut that shorter than that. And I know in this case I'm going to swing it down a little bit like that to get it in there. So that'll fit really good. So then I'll walk you through the steps of cutting it, drilling it, and the whole thing. Okay, the next thing I do once I have the marks on here is I use an automatic center punch to put some marks into the copper, and it just pops and puts a nice center punch hole on there. And that's that. There's only one mount on each end, and it works really actually pretty good. The next step is to get this mounted in the vise and cut it on the line that I've identified where I want the length of it to be. And I've got these protective jaws on the vise. They have a rubber coating on them, and they're magnetic back, so they stick really nice to the jaws of the vise. Now to help make cutting a little bit easier, I use a triangular file to start my kerf for the hacksaw blade. As anybody who's used a hacksaw before cutting on metal knows that it might kind of bounce around and give you a little bit of a ratty finish on there. So a file is much more forgiving, and it'll bite into the soft copper and give me a good kerf to start for the saw blade. Then I always take, since I'm working with copper, I always take a wire brush and clean the teeth of the file out right away. Otherwise it gums it up. Literally gets gummy. And then the cutting. And this is getting harder for me because of the cataract in my left eye. It's really getting hard for me to see things close up, which is unfortunate. So I'm going to be getting that fixed sometime soon. Once that's cut, I take some files and smooth the edges off, and I'll do both ends at the same time. Now we're cut to length. Edges are deburred and kind of cleaned up. Next thing to do is get it on the drill press. Okay, after getting it chucked up in the vise here, I can just use the center punch hole, so go ahead and drill straight through. It's kind of like cutting butter. Copper is so soft. Nice curly cues coming off of there. That's the feed rate you're looking for, and I gotta break all these off of here. There we go. There's another vacuum operation. I can see the burr on there. I'm going to have to get that off in the next step, which I'll show you here in a second. This step here is another deburring type of step. I can put it back into the vise, And just gently grab onto it. And then using a counter sinking tool, and go ahead and just carefully run it and deburr the hole I just drilled. Nice and clean. And I do both sides of the hole, even though the top one is fairly clean. I like to have that edge broken again so everything looks professional. And I'm just using the weight of the drill. I'm not pushing at all. I'm letting it just rest on the workpiece and the weight of it. Cut that off. So, there we are. Cut, drilled, and deburred. We're ready to go. Okay, now that I have my bar ready to go, the next step is to get it in place, and then I have to mark holes on top of the barn board and then drill them through. So, first thing I gotta do is get this on here where I know it goes, and I have to put the states back on here just to make sure that I got this where I want it to be. So, we'll put them back on temporarily. State of Washington. Beautiful place, but I would never want to go back there. It's not part of the United States anymore. It's like living in another country. Those people are nuts. Okay, and Missouri. I love how there's a lock right into place. Okay, so the bend's in about the middle. So that's where I want it to be. And again, there's clearance for that capture pin, so not to worry about that. And on the other side, it's well hidden underneath the state. Underneath both of them, there's backer board. So this is going to be a fairly simple one to do compared to some of the others where I had to fabricate the boards, get them back there, and so on. So now I use an awl to mark those two holes. Now I want to use a Sharpie right away to mark those so I know where I'm drilling. One there. And this one is right here. Now I can drill. And this one here, same thing. We're all clear underneath. I've got a backer board in place for it. Now I got to clean this all up so I don't get any of this sawdust pushed into this really fine cracks on here. Okay, the hardware I'm using are 832 screws, and all of these 1 3/4 inch length seems to work good. A washer and a nut go on each one of them. And then I have these really nice spacers. They're aluminum, and I'm just amazed at how the quality you get for the price you pay for these guys. These are anodized black. All the edges are broken. They're like super nice, and I'm just hiding them away. So put the bar back on here, and you take the two spacers, and they'll go over the holes. So these spacers are what holds the bus bar, the copper bus bar, off the surface and gives it that floating effect. You can see they're 1/4 inch off the surface. That way when you have if the lighting, you put lighting on here, you'll get a little bit of a shadow underneath there, rather than having just laying flat on top of the barn board. Now that's fixed in place, nice and solid. It's floating above there. And we'll put the states back on and see how it looks. And there. How's that look? Pretty good. So you got a 3D floating effect, and it's fixed in place, nice and solid. I like it. Okay, so I'm going to finish the other ones here. There's only 2 to go, same process. All the same steps. I'm still debating whether I'm going to put a sealant on these. You would normally put like a clear enamel or something on there, clear acrylic, clean them up and then cover them. All right, when we're done, I'll come back and we'll finish up and look how it's completed. It's really close now. Well, the project is essentially complete. What I might do now though is run to the hardware store and get some high gloss clear enamel to go ahead and treat those bus bars. I'll give you a look at how it came out, spin the camera around. Fun project. I'd do it all over again. It was a lot of fun.